different this week when you have an 8-day break? Do you do anything different in practice? What's different?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, your bye week comes, been doing this in the ACC now for 9 years at different times. And so this time what we decided to do, and rarely can you get 2 days in a row off of practice. So after our Tuesday night game against Miami, we took Wednesday and Thursday off to try to, you know, rest and recover as much as possible, let guys heal up at this time in the year. And then, you know, you want to prepare. You don't want to overtrain, but you also don't want to undertrain. You try to find that balance and that sweet spot, and then get back to, you know, preparing as normal as you head into this week for the Georgia Tech game. So a little more rest and recovery, and you're using those days off as wisely as you can.
You all have done a good job on Ben Lammers when you faced him this year and last year. Is that the key to kind of beating Georgia Tech, stopping him?
Yeah, well, they have some other guys. They're capable. They're real big now. They lost their point guard, but they're extremely very tall, and defensively they have Josh Okogie, who's scored tons of points and is a talented player. They're very capable, but Ben has been a terrific player for him. So it's, again, in this league, everybody's capable, as we've talked about. So they're not just a one-man team. They have a few guys, and they run multiple defenses, and then I think they're getting more comfortable. They played a decent early first half, and then Virginia Tech had a great game and ran away from them last game. But I think they're still adjusting to playing without their lead guard.
Kind of following up on what Marty was asking you, but this sort of bye week, how much of it is it mostly focused on you guys once you get back to work and just tightening things up?
Yeah, it has to be, I think. I mean, of course, you'll prep for some of the things Georgia Tech does and do that as usual, but it's always about that. It's, again, using, you know, you get a little more rest, but then being about improvement. And that's, I told our guys, you don't have to get too carried away and overcomplicate this thing and worry about records, seeds, what the TVs or social media says. Just get into preparing, improving, playing to win, and then getting better again. And that's what's required at this time of the year, at all times really, but especially in this spot. I think it's a great lesson for them to be as good as they can and have the quality that we're looking for, and not be consumed or worried about anything else.
One of the things, I remember coming into the year, one of the things we talked about was kind of Kyle getting in the gym, adding some size and that kind of stuff. Now that we're into this time of year, have you noticed how much of a benefit has that been to him? Yeah,
I think for sure Kyle added some mass, got stronger, and some weight. And I think everybody's work in the off season, it was a hard working group. They all were very serious about improvement physically in their games, and that certainly has shown. And as the season wears on, you're into however many games we've played, you know, the durability and strength helps. When you're a first year, it's, you know, you get to that, it's much more intense. You're playing more games than you would have in high school. So sometimes even at the awareness of, okay, I've been through this one time or two times before, I understand when I feel a little fatigued or these things are coming at me. I think all of those things factor in of being in a better place than your first time doing it.
And then just how's Ty's hand?
Yeah, just, you know, hopefully it's healing up, and we're, you know, like this rest and not irritating, it'll be good. But we'll, you know, I think I said we'll see how long he keeps the bandage or the tape on it. But he's looked okay in practice.
Does Kyle have your blessing on his engagement?
That's not for me to bless or not to bless, but absolutely he does. And like I said, couldn't be happier for him. And he certainly was excited to do it. And as I said, how sure are you on a scale of 1 to 10? She's going to say yes. That's my only advice I can give you as a coach. But no, he felt pretty confident, and it certainly was a joyous occasion. And I saw my daughter showed me some of the pictures that some of the guys were out there. So that's a special time, and when you know, you know.
So he talked about it with you before this was going to happen?
Yeah, no, he showed me the ring and all that. I thought he said, Coach, and he opened up the box. I thought he was proposing to me. I wasn't sure. I said no, but he showed it to me, and I said, obviously this is a big decision, and as long as he had spoken to his parents and her parents, and they gave him sound counsel, and in his heart I said, as long as you prayed about it, spoken to your parents, and you feel good about the success rate, I said, Of course, you got to do that. So that was my job as a coach, to just a little bit of counsel and coaching, but good for him. And like I said, couldn't be happier for him.
It looks like his fiance goes to school out in Indiana.
DePaul, I think, yeah.
That's what it looked like to me. How were you able to convince Kyle to come here from Indiana?
Well, we got in on him early, and you know, we just, I think he came here, and he even said to me, Coach, I wasn't planning on my visit or shortly after committing, but when I got here, I just felt the connection of this place, of the staff, of the players, and he said, I just knew in my heart this was right for me. And so I think that mattered a lot. And ironically, his fiance, her brother came here just on an unofficial. He was coming through, and we visited with him. So there was actually a little connection with her brother before this. So they had some familiarity. Kyle did, and that was his longtime girlfriend. So they knew a little bit about Virginia. So maybe we got an assist from his fiance. So we'll take that.
What's the key to, you're going to be at home, what's the key to beating Georgia Tech on Wednesday night?
Just playing at a high level, you know, doing what we do to the best of our abilities, understanding what they do. And again, this is ACC basketball. You have to be as ready as you can, and hopefully we'll have a couple good days this week to prepare and then be ready to go on Wednesday.